On the desolate highways of Nevada, a legend was born. Between 2000 and 2010, at the scene of 12 serious accidents, a single figure always appeared first: a helpful truck driver. He'd bandage wounds, direct traffic, and comfort the victims, vanishing before the police arrived. They called him Sam, the Good Samaritan trucker, a guardian angel of the asphalt. For years, his story was one of hope on the loneliest road in America. Nobody questioned it. That is, until a cold case detective stumbled upon a pattern that turned this heartwarming legend into a waking nightmare. In 2019, Detective Michael Ross was sifting through unsolved missing persons cases when three names caught his eye. Three young women, all vanished between 2000 and 2010 after highway accidents. The last person to see each of them alive? A helpful trucker who offered them a ride to the hospital, a ride they never completed. A chill ran down Ross's spine as he pulled the accident reports from that decade. The coincidences were piling up, and they were far too convenient. All 12 accidents shared disturbing similarities. They all occurred on the same 200-mile stretch of Highway 50, a road so empty it's called the loneliest in America. Every incident happened in the dead of night, between 2 and 5 a.m., when the world was asleep. And each crash was blamed on sudden mechanical failure, brakes giving out, tires blowing, oil pans leaking. And at every single scene, the mysterious trucker, Sam, appeared within minutes, sometimes before anyone had even dialed 911. This wasn't a coincidence, it was a script. Ross brought in automotive forensics expert Chen. The cars were long gone, scrapped years ago, but photos and initial reports remained. Chen's analysis was bone-chilling. The brake lines showed marks from being deliberately cut. The tires had been punctured before they blew out. The oil drain plugs had been intentionally loosened. These were not accidents. They were ambushes. They had been sabotaged. The investigation instantly shifted gears. If someone was causing these crashes, then Sam, the helpful trucker, wasn't a hero. He was the prime suspect. But how do you find a driver named Sam who worked a decade ago? There are thousands of truckers, many paid in cash, many using CB handles instead of real names. Ross decided to focus on the victims who disappeared: Jennifer Walsh, Amy Peterson, and Lisa Chen. Their stories held the key. Ross spoke to the families, and their accounts were eerily identical. Jennifer's mother recalled her daughter's last call. She was shaken but okay, telling her mom a nice trucker had stopped and offered her a ride. "I feel safe with him," Jennifer had said. Amy's father told the same story. His daughter trusted the kind stranger, but Lisa's sister had something more: a final text message from Lisa, a grainy photo of the trucker's rig she was about to get into. It showed a blue Peterbilt semi. The FBI's lab worked its magic on the blurry photo. They enhanced the image, and a name emerged from the pixels on the truck's door: Desert Star Logistics. Ross tracked down the company, only to find it had gone out of business in 2011. But the former owner was alive, and he had employment records. Ross described Sam: tall, friendly, always wore a baseball cap. The owner's face went pale. That sounded like Samuel Brooks, one of his best drivers, until he quit without warning in 2010. Samuel Brooks, age 52. His record was spotless. A model employee for 15 years who suddenly vanished. His forwarding address in Colorado was a dead end. Digging deeper, Ross found a man who lived in the shadows. A foster kid who never married, had no children, and few friends. His co-workers described him as quiet, helpful, and always eager to take the overnight routes on the emptiest highways. He preferred isolation and darkness. Financial records revealed Brooks had been renting storage units across Nevada, always paying cash, always at remote facilities with lax security. With warrants in hand, Ross's team opened them. 3 were empty, scrubbed clean. But the 4th, in Ely, Nevada, held the horrifying truth. Inside were the personal belongings of the 3 missing women: Jennifer's purse, Amy's jewelry, Lisa's phone, and with them, items from 9 other women, a gallery of stolen lives. This was a serial predator's trophy room. Tucked away among the grim collection were journals. In his own meticulous handwriting, Samuel Brooks documented his horrifying methods. He would scout remote highways, stalking women traveling alone at night. He'd get ahead of them, sabotage their cars with a specialized toolkit, and then wait for the inevitable breakdown. Then, he would appear like a savior in the darkness, his helpful persona a mask to hide the monster beneath. The women trusted him because he seemed to be a miracle. The journals detailed what happened next. Brooks would offer a ride, but instead of driving toward civilization, he'd turn onto desolate dirt roads, taking his victims deep into the desert. By the time they realized the danger, it was too late. He kept them for days in a custom-modified sleeper cab. He saw himself not as a killer, but as a savior, saving these women from their lonely travels by giving them company before he ended their lives. Using the journals, investigators located 6 burial sites in the vast Nevada desert. Forensic teams recovered the remains of all 12 victims, the 3 known missing women, and 9 others who had simply vanished off the map. Their cases never connected to Nevada. They were just passing through, and their families never knew where their journeys had ended. Brooks had been hunting on America's highways for over a decade. Now, the hunt for Samuel Brooks was on. He hadn't used his real name or social security number since 2010. He was a ghost, but a property record from 2009 led them to rural Montana, a 40-acre compound bought under a shell company. Satellite images showed the blue Peterbilt truck parked by a large garage. Tactical teams prepared to raid the property, but Brooks was nowhere to be found. The FBI breached the compound. Inside was the blue Peterbilt, more journals, more trophies, and maps of highways across 6 western states. Brooks had expanded his hunting grounds, but he was gone. Then, a Montana state trooper called with a seemingly unrelated report. 3 months earlier, a trucker was found dead of a heart attack at a rest stop. The ID said David Martin. The body was cremated. No fingerprints were taken. Ross reviewed the death scene photos. The man's build matched Brooks. DNA from a coffee cup at the scene was tested against DNA from the compound. It was a match. The highway hunter was dead. The news brought a strange, hollow relief. There would be no trial, no day in court. But at least the reign of terror was over. Ross and his team focused on giving the nameless victims their identities back. Over the next 6 months, using DNA from the trophies, they identified 8 of the 9 unknown women, bringing a painful closure to families across the country who finally learned what happened to their lost loved ones. Psychologists profiled Brooks posthumously. He fit the classic mold: childhood abandonment, a desperate need for control. But his patience and meticulous planning were what made him so terrifyingly effective. He was a calculator, not an impulse predator. He crafted his helpful persona to exploit trust in moments of extreme vulnerability, preying on the simple human instinct to accept help when we are most alone and afraid. The Good Samaritan case exposed a chilling vulnerability in our nation's infrastructure. Brooks operated for a decade because his crimes were scattered across remote areas and multiple jurisdictions. No one connected the dots. In response, the FBI created a new database to link highway accidents with missing persons cases. Truck stops now post warnings, and the case has become a mandatory part of law enforcement training. What looks like an accident could be a murder scene. The families of the 12 victims gathered on Highway 50. They erected a monument listing the names of the women stolen by Samuel Brooks. It serves as both a memorial and a warning. At the ceremony, Ross spoke of how their loved ones had trusted a man who appeared to be a savior. His journal showed he died believing he was merciful. The case is closed, but for the families and for one victim who remains unidentified, the story is never truly over. It's a permanent, haunting reminder that on the loneliest roads, the greatest danger can be hiding behind a friendly smile. The Good Samaritan case is closed. 12 victims identified. Families finally have answers. But this investigation reveals a terrifying truth about highway predators operating in plain sight. Every week we expose cases where danger hides behind helpful faces. If you believe travelers deserve safety and justice, subscribe to Cold Case Chronicles Unsolved, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, share with those who drive America's lonely roads. Together we shine light on the darkness that waits between towns. Some monsters wear friendly smiles. This is Cold Case Chronicles. Unsolved. The investigation continues.